Hey look, buddy. I'm a spy, and I solve practical problems.
You are dead.
The gun. As a spy, you have it. Yes, the knife will get most of your kills, but the knife has a limited amount of range. And this is where this thing comes in. And these things come in later. The gun is so underutilized that the phrase, "spy as a gun," has become my running joke. And a bit of a motto for the spies who watch this series. You think about it, you tell it to others, you reply with it on every spy-related thing, recite it every night before bed, and vandalize local property with it. Please don't do that last one. But with all this talk about how Spy has a gun, finally I am making the long-requested video on specifically that. Here is how the gun works. The revolver is a hit-scan weapon. The moment you fire, the game instantly draws a line straight down your crosshair, and if it collides with another player, it counts as a hit.
That didn't hurt.
But if you fire another shot within 1.25 seconds, it will randomly deviate from your crosshair, and this has more of an impact at longer distances. It has a base damage of 40, its maximum damage at close range is 60, its minimum damage at long range is 21, and critical hits always deal 120 damage regardless of range. And that's really it. The stock revolver is a very simple weapon to understand on a mechanical level, but let's throw in a few tips for actually using it. 1. Space out your shots, especially at longer ranges. Waiting between firing can reduce or negate the random spread that occurs on subsequent shots. 2. Practice. Aiming with it can be harder than you think, so practice it with things like TR Walkway or just go out of your way to use it in pubs. 3. Do not underestimate its power. If your shots connect, it does respectable damage.
Watch, as I am just below medium range. It takes 1, 2, 3 shots to kill the light class. Also observe, as you can see the health of enemy players, unlike the other classes.
Well, what about me?
Shut up!
But the point is, stock is a very consistent revolver. But back to my running joke. I have it as such to drill that phrase into people's heads. But I think it's worth explaining the point of why. So, let's explain the joke. And as they say, dissect the
Hello, it is I, the Frog. I am currently being gruesomely dissected and being compelled by the voices to explain the funny. The idea that Spy has a gun doesn't mean you should constantly use it on innocent bystanders at all times, even if you really want to. Instead, keep it in your pocket and use it at a deviously opportune moment. Use the gun against guys running towards you, participate in an active fight, fire upon Clifford who is standing up. How the fuck? Or engage guys running away from you. Officer, it was self-defense. No, do not arrest me. Do you know who I am? I will defend myself against you. Just because you have the Second Amendment doesn't mean you should exercise it at every possible moment.
Except neither of us live in America.
Yeah, true.
You done?
Yeah.
So let's start with the first question. When? Now, yes, you have a gun. But unless you're going out of your way to drop all stealth and play gun spy, most of your kills are still going to be a result of the knife. If someone doesn't know you are there, and is facing away from you, the knife will work just fine. The gun is instead there for the scenarios where the knife doesn't work. Most often, when people already know you are there, you could try and recreate those epic frag montages you've seen, or you can just shoot them.
What?
A lot of people tend to see Spy as a free kill. And they're often caught off guard when the Spy actually shoots them. You can get into the enemy's head and see the exact moment at which they start to realize that you can hit your shots. That, or they continue running at you, and die really awkwardly. You can get moments like this, where the enemy spy underestimates the power of the revolver, runs at you trying to trick stab, and doesn't know what to do when you just pull out your gun and start shooting them.
Oh my god!
basic rule is, if knife don't work, gun. If gun don't work, run. Some other good scenarios for your gun are low health players outside of your knife's range, some low health player retreating to a health pack, getting bored and becoming a DPS class, or using your ability to see enemy health is also really helpful in picking fights. You can often tell which fights you'll have an advantage in, or, as mentioned before, finish off the poor guy running through a health pack, by spontaneously becoming the other pick class. In fact, the revolver is far more effective at range than shotguns, and especially if you can dodge projectiles. Not to mention the, yeah. But also note that the knife from the front does 40 damage, so if your opponent is just below that threshold and really close to you, you can just finish them off British style. It's also good against Razorback snipers, as they tend to turn towards you after the second shot. Anyway, we've talked about stock, but what about the other four? There are three categories I like to split them up into. Consistently good, kinda situational, and cursed. Stock fits into the consistently good category. But then, there's the other one that shares that status. Since this gun's name is in, Spanish, nobody but me knows it's pronounced as. This gun has the stats of plus 40% cloak duration, plus 15% cloak on hit, but a 20% damage penalty. Now, the revolver has the lowest base damage of any of the revolvers. How could it be consistently good? Well, that's because of the plus 40% cloak duration you get just by equipping it. That is big! 10 seconds of cloak? Pitiful! How about 14 seconds? Has your cloak run out and you need to escape? Guess what? Plus 15% cloak on hit! Cloak and dagger is movement sensitive? Well now, it's a bit less sensitive and less likely to go on an argument on twitter.com. Wait. Having the increased cloak allows you to get further with your cloak, worry less about managing it, and be more patient with your decloaks. But be wary. If you use it too much, you may develop a case of cloak management disorder. A condition that is caused by reliance on the extra cloak that makes you struggle to use any revolver besides the revolver. Thankfully, it is not terminal, and can be treated with some stock revolver therapy. Though, it's not just a tool for newer spies, as it's also good if you're trying to adopt a more patient playstyle. You can wait with your cloak for longer and observe the enemy more. It's an especially good combo with the cloak and dagger. You can negate the reduced cloak of your eternal reward. Its cloak on hit is the only thing that can restore the cloak of the dead ringer. But you may be thinking, okay, so it's just good for its passive buff, but due to the damage penalty, it isn't useful in combat, right? Nope. Even with the you should still shoot it at people in the same scenarios as you'd use stock. It has the lowest base damage of all the revolvers, but it's still consistently good. Now, we go to the kinda situational guns. This gun has the single upside of getting critical hits on headshots, making it the only non-sniper rifle weapon that can headshot. And its downsides are boom, boom, bap. Then that's it. Wait, no, Jungle Inferno, no, wait, stop! So the idea of this gun is that it rewards skilled aim with crit damage, but resulting in less DPS if you can't hit headshots, or just can't hit. However, there is another thing that the game doesn't tell you, because headshots only count when there is no bullet spread, meaning you need to space out your shots. However, back in 2017, when Jungle Inferno released, they made the Ambassador the only weapon that has its critical hits affected by range. Now, sure, Spy isn't supposed to be Sniper, so that's not entirely unfair, right? Well, sure, I don't disagree with that, but they went a bit overkill. If it weren't for this nerf, this gun would still be in the consistently good category. But be warned! Because using this gun makes you go for headshots, which is only like 10% of the hitbox I think, because I can't be bothered doing the math instead of just eyeballed it, you may actually miss more shots entirely than if you just went with the stock revolver. Because These days, this thing only really shines at close-ish range, where it can clutch 1v1s, and also deal with Razorback snipers, as a single headshot, followed up by a quick body shot, can kill them quicker than most of them can react. That, or they have an incredibly bad case of tunnel vision. Anyway, the Ambassador is good at close range if you can aim headshots, otherwise, literally any other revolver is better. The Enforcer. The gun of all time.
Okay.
It has the upsides of plus 20% damage while disguised, and it pierces all damage resistances. The downsides are 20% firing speed penalty, and no random crits. The latter is barely a downside. Since the damage bonus only applies while disguised, it effectively only applies to your first shot. So, it's capable of two-shotting Razorback snipers at point blank. And if you go for the memes and team up with a crits medic, crits can one-shot light classes.
Oh wait. Go. Holy shit, no, sentry gun!
But when this gun is put up against most types of damage resistance, it simply says, "Who asked?" and like an absolute Giga Chad, proceeds to completely bypass them. The resistances it bypasses are Vaccinator Bullet Resistance, Vaccinator Uber Bullet Resistance, Spine Visibility, Battalion's Backup Rage, Raspy Spin Up, Natasha Low Health, Fists of Steel, Wrangler Shield, and Dead Ringer. Do note that this only applies to damage resistances, not immunities, so damage and crit immunities are not bypassed. Also, a couple of resistances are bugged and aren't bypassed, because, of course they are, so spaghetti. These are all manpower power-ups, and the hidden Sapper armor mechanic on sentries. With the Vaccinator, Spy now counters it harder than he already did, since it lacks melee resistance. The Wrangler Shield, which is arguably overpowered, is also completely shut down by the Enforcer. Sentries are very quirky and don't care about damage fall off on taking damage. You can shoot them from far away, or up close, and they will still take the same amount of damage. Abusing this with the Enforcer will probably annoy the local engineer so much, he'll die of cardiac arrest. Also, the Dead Ringer just gets completely screwed by this weapon, as all the damage resistances it's supposed to give are completely nullified. It can even one-shot them at point blank if they're using the cooldown. Fists of Steel are also typically used for escapes or tanking damage, and yet again, the Enforcer completely screws this up. But the overall problem with this upside is that TF2 isn't some roguelike with a huge amount of resistances, so being able to bypass them only really comes into play in a few scenarios. But the downsides are also somewhat negligible. It just sort of exists. I get that this is definitely an opinion, and some people really like this gun. And you know what? More power to you. It's fun for me sometimes. But then, there is the cursed one. This is the Diamondback. It rewards you with a guaranteed critical hit for every backstab and building sapped. That has the potential to be stupidly powerful, as it just rewards you for doing your job as spy. So, what are the downsides to balance this out? What? I'm going to save this gun for a different video. It is cursed. Just don't use it.
The gun is really good. Some are more consistent than others, but at the end of the day, it's an option you have. Do not neglect it, because you'll be surprised at how powerful of a weapon it is. Never forget, Spy has a gun.
Hey channel members, this is me, this is a bit of the video exclusive to you. I just finished proof watching the video, and I'm probably less than 60 minutes away from making it go live for you guys. Honestly, this has been about nearly 3 months of work going into this, with a whole bunch of other technical problems and all that stuff happening throughout it. And I'm really glad that it's pretty much almost done. I've just got another plug to put in the place of this part of the video. But here's my thank you to you, to being really supportive of me, especially you Omega people. I am just so grateful. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say. I have been editing non-stop for what? 12 hours? Yeah, I know, I'm autistic and insane, but thank you so much.